Joe Murray. And we got about 23 minutes, so why don't we get right into it? The opening take is brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Opening takes brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. The Bruins made a move today. We'll get into that. I got some NFL news and odds for that matter. Some free agency odds for the Patriots, and all the Bees are back in action tonight. We'll certainly get into that coming up in just a little bit. So we only have a short amount of time, and the Bees moved on from Trent Frederic today. And the return, I am in on. I didn't realize that the Bruins could get that type of return for a player, A, that was hurt, but B, wasn't playing to his expectations. And I asked the guys this in the crossover, and we got into it a little bit last night, but when you look at the Bruins, are they more likely a playoff team or more likely a lottery team? And I understand that they're only a few points out of a playoff, but I do feel that the Bruins should consider the lottery. They should consider the future when it comes to this this trade deadline. I get it. Are they a threat to in the playoffs? And if you give me, hey, did you think this team was a threat years ago? I understand anything can happen. But this team, sorry. And today, Don Sweeney made his first move prior to the deadline this Friday. The Bruins not only got a second-round pick, but also got a fourth-round pick and a prospect. They threw in a minor league player in Mac Jones, who's been an NHL guy, but they move on from him. They get out of some of the salary. And overall, the Bruins, Trent Frederic, they receive a 21-year-old defenseman named Max Warner. They get St. Louis, their second-round pick in 2025, which was owned by Edmonton. And then they get Edmonton's fourth-round selection in 2026. Now, Warner's 21. He was a seventh-round pick. He's 6'3", 185. He's a right-shot defenseman. His second AHL season. Goal and assist, 22 games. He's a guy that's probably, a defense-first blue liner, but The Athletic ranked him as the Oilers' 10th prospect a while back, and could he be a depth piece? Sure. With all the money that they have on their blue line, it's good. But getting back into the second round again for the Bees is huge. Last night I went over their future picks. They don't have a second-round pick. They've made just one pick in the second round, or just one pick in the first two rounds the last 2 years. They didn't even own their own 2025 second-round pick because they sent it to Washington for Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway years ago. Like, the moves that Don Sweeney made years ago is still affecting them in the draft. Now they're back in the first three rounds of the draft this year. And now they have the possibility of acquiring more if they sell other pieces. This second-round pick originally, as I mentioned, St. Louis. So it would have been higher if it was Edmonton's. And, well, if you look at it, now you should root against St. Louis. And I know we know the coach there and everything, but they could gain more value the worse that St. Louis is. So keep that in mind when it comes to that pick. Now, we can always get on Don Sweeney about his drafting. And he's done well in the second round, by the way. But making up for some of the past mistakes is the right thing to do for this team. Most people assumed that Trent Frederic was probably gone after this year anyways. So instead of potentially, missing the playoffs, keep some of these spots open for these younger players. You just saw that they brought up Georgi Merkulov this week. But if you can get prospects and picks in, Trent Frederic was a nice little story. He was not coming back here. They got a second-round pick. We did get an update on Brad Marchand today from Joe Sacco. He will not play before Friday's NHL trade deadline. He is listed as week-to-week with an upper body injury. He suffered that against Pittsburgh over the weekend. But a team that is desperately trying to be in the playoff race. McAvoy's hurt. Lindholm's hurt. You just had Marchand go down. Patra got hit into the boards the other night. I know the Bruins are still just 2 points out of the final wild card spot, but they have to jump the Red Wings, the Rangers, Ottawa, Montreal. They're going to be chasing. And I'm sure other names will get brought up. The one I'm somewhat looking at is Brandon Carlo, who has another year remaining. Are the Bruins open to selling for the first time in decades? They've always been selling their future. To me, it seems more realistic than anything that we remember here. Brandon Carlo acknowledged he is a little uneasy around the deadline, but says he wants to remain a Bruin. I don't know if they can get a first for him. I don't think they can. But if you can get a second for Trent Frederick, what could you get for a guy with more term? But also, I know the Bruins blue line's got issues here. This might be a coveted guy. I would listen. I'm sure teams are interested in Marchand even with the injury. I got a few other names I'll bring up coming up in a bit here, but I personally believe with the way the NHL lottery goes that once they start selling and they slowly start getting out of that playoff race, it might be worth considering the lottery versus the playoffs. We'll leave it there tonight at 617-779-0985. Overall, though, I give the grade a B+. Hard not to like this move. You get a second-round pick in, but you also could move on from one of your guys that's down in the minors and playing well. You get out of that, and then you gain a depth piece defenseman. That's a right shot defenseman. And you could say a lot about Don Sweeney and his drafting, but as far as his NHL trades, he's been really good. 617-779-0985. We are here until 6:30 tonight. We'll hand things over to Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers. I got a few other names the Bees could move on from, and a bunch of NFL news today. I have some odds on where maybe some of the guys could end up, and I have the free agent wide receiver list. Sounds like the Patriots are interested in getting a big fish. I got a couple of those names for you. And I do have one little basketball note I want to mention before we get out of here tonight. I'm Joe Murray. We are here until 6:30. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go.
move today. What is next? Well, what is next? How about Justin Brazeau, another bottom six forward? He's got size. He's tough. He can put the puck in the net a little bit there. I mean, I think someone would be interested. Sell. Now, Brazeau, I will tell you this. He's been invisible for the last 10 games or so. So, I don't know if he's flashy at the moment. I think it was reported recently that there's no extension there or anything like that. But this is what I mean was when he was hot, that was the time. And I get it, the playoffs. But this guy, did they have really a long-term plan for Brazeau? No. How about this? Does somebody want Cole Koepke? Out. See ya. How about Parker Wotherspoon? Anybody want him? Take him. Everybody's looking for the depth piece defenseman, and you know it because the Bruins did it for years. They always did it. If they can get anything for those guys at the deadline, do it. The Carlo one, though, I would entertain it. I understand, no McAvoy, no Lindholm. You're a little short there. But don't you think you can get more now? And my starting point, second round pick. I'm almost thinking first. I know. Some people might have just pulled over. Joe, you're crazy. No way. Why not? Try it. This is the first time the Bruins have ever been sellers. They've been the ones that have been getting reamed on the deals. It's time for them to start reaming. You like that analogy, Skaz? It's time for them to now start reaming. But if somebody called about Charlie Coyle, in. If somebody called about Morgan Geekie, although he is restricted, in. This is the time to sell. For years, the Bruins got taken advantage of for making moves at the deadline because they wanted to beef up the team and they wanted to make a move and they were aggressive doing it. So now, be aggressive and hold out. The fact you could get a second for Frederick, I'm thinking second first for Carla. Should I even entertain the idea of Brad Marchand? Just think about it for a little bit. Although the Bruins roster is not great, they have players with playoff experience. Look at Edmonton. They made the trade today. They have barely any cap space whatsoever. And the other thing with the Bruins is, with now Lindholm going on long-term injured reserve, how about you use the cap space to make a move and acquire future assets? You've never been in this situation before. Take advantage of it. And this is why I say, although 2 points out of a playoff, they should want to be closer to the lottery than the playoffs. I also wanted to get into some Patriots stuff today and some NFL stuff. It was franchise tag day. Godwin in Tampa Bay, not franchised. Stanley in Baltimore, not franchised. Sam Darnold did not get the franchise tag. So, in on Godwin. I know the injuries are there, but that's a guy that's a true X. Whether he's a 2, that's fine. Can he be a 1? I don't know. But you know what? It's someone that can be here for Drake May in his prime. He's been there for Baker Mayfield. Look what he's done. I know there's been injuries there, but... And maybe he has had the benefit of playing with Mike Evans. But that wouldn't be the only move for the Patriots. Now, Ronnie Stanley, him not getting franchise tagged, and supposedly they're not really close on a long-term deal. All the Patriots have to do is spend money. I'm sure he's looking at that. I'm sure he has been using the Patriots, or his agent has been using the Patriots in negotiations. So, if they can get Stanley, I'm not even looking at Campbell or really any offensive lineman until mid-rounds, second, third, whatever. The whole Sam Darnold thing today, I was looking at some of the betting odds. Sam Darnold is not the favorite to return in Minnesota, and they drafted J.J. McCarthy. The favorite for next team for Sam Darnold, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that'd be a really good spot. Work with Pete Carroll, who worked with Gino before. The other report today, this is from Matthew Berry, pretty credible guy. Patriots have called the Eagles regarding A.J. Brown. His quote was, "I've heard the Patriots will do whatever they can to get a wide receiver one for Drake May." One person told me they heard the Patriots called Philly asking. Just remember this about A.J. Brown. He wanted to be a Patriot. He came in with Deebo Samuel, Bill Belichick. Didn't like the grab-ass that was going on between the two of them. They took N'Keal Harry. Don't forget that A.J. Brown played for Mike Vrabel. There is a connection there. I don't know what the cost would be. I don't know why Philly would give him up. I know at times he was reading his book because there's so many other talented pieces on that team. A.J. Brown's always wanted to play for the Patriots, and now that Mike Vrabel's here, it's certainly worth the call. And reports are the Patriots would be interested in Davante Adams. Remember, Davante Adams has a relationship with Elliott Wolf from his time in the front office in Green Bay. We'll always bring up Josh McDaniels, but look at the numbers for Davante Adams with Josh McDaniels. It was one of his most productive seasons. The Patriots should be in on it. They should be. Use their relationships. Here's a couple other wide receiver candidates the Patriots could also look at. We already mentioned Chris Godwin, Davante Adams. I don't think T. Higgins is possible. How about Jacoby Myers? Bring him back. A couple of names that have been floated out there. Christian Kirk with the Jaguars. Brandon Ayuk's name keeps popping up. I don't know what you'd have to give up, but he does have longer term, which maybe they want. And if Cooper Kupp does become available, the Patriots seem to be one of the teams interested. Now, if I was Cooper Kupp, I'd think Baltimore or some other team. Bengals. I don't know. I'm just throwing out names of teams that are on the fringe. But here is the list of free agents quickly. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Marquise Brown, Darius Slayton, DeAndre Hopkins, Elijah Moore. Go out and get a big-time guy. Last night we talked to Doug Kyde. He mentioned Josh Palmer. Also, before we hand things over, one basketball note I wanted to slide in here. The Mavericks lost Kyrie Irving today with a torn ACL. Anthony Davis might be shut down this year with a knee injury. They traded Luka Doncic. This is what happens when you trade your star player. You become irrelevant.